adjust your shorts and prepare yourselves to get kicked in the dick by the news. My name is Ray Stone. Today is Tuesday, February 10th, and that can only mean one thing. Happy birthday, Melody. Happy birthday. I love you very much, and you deserve everything you're getting. That's the kind of guy you're getting. Okay? So that's it for the personal stuff. Let's jump in to some news. First up, local police aid ICE by tapping school cameras amid Trump's immigration crackdown. So apparently this article said that local police are assisting ICE by providing photos of license plates, because I guess they take photos of all of the license plates that enter the school. Now, I thought that one of the new regulations was you got to stay away from schools. It's like they just can't help themselves. They have to do whatever the hell comes into their mind. But ICE has been on the tip of everybody's tongue lately. Oh, this sneaks in. I didn't even mean to do this, but it keeps sneaking in, so let's have it. CNN, Savannah Guthrie pleads for public's help as FBI says it has no suspects in mother's disappearance. Now, the other day, she started praying to God publicly, and that's what I thought this was all about. I kind of thought this was just a big push, another put like TPUSH. I just realized that. It's not TPUSA, it's TPUSH. They're just trying to push their agenda on people. Like, please believe in my God. I don't have a problem with anybody believing in whatever you want. But you can believe in Baal, you keep seeing all this occult stuff. How the leaders of the country seem to believe in like Luciferianism, which is the worship of Lucifer, the fallen angel. If you believe that story, I don't care. Fine. Believe it all you want. The trouble that I have is when they try to TPUSH it onto us. Like, I don't have to, nor do I want to, nor do I need to believe the things that you believe in order for me to be happy in my life. Here's what I believe. Somehow, some way, I am here. Okay? And that was the only price that was paid for that was my mother's pain, right? So that toll got paid. That means I'm allowed to be here, and I'm okay with just not knowing the rest. I'm okay with that being a secret that maybe it gets revealed at the end and maybe it doesn't. But what I'm not okay with is when somebody else has to believe in something. That's fine. But when they need to push it on you, because here's how belief works. If you tell me that you believe in the God and the angels of the Christian Bible and the devil of the Christian Bible, and then I say, well, I don't believe that, it undermines your belief. If I say, oh, I believe it too now, then it fortifies your ability to believe in it. But anytime, of course, someone else who is, like if you see a smart person and they don't believe what you believe, well, that rocks your belief. You see how that works? So that's why they need you to believe. But anyway, I don't understand why Savannah Guthrie's pleads for public help are national news. The last thing I read is they were searching some septic tanks, which means they're like, oh, we think she may have ended up in a well. We're not sure where she is, but we don't know where she is. Also, all right, let's get back to what's important. Democrats and White House trade offers as shutdown of Homeland Security looms. The overarching story here is the Democrats want to rein in ICE, and it needs to be done. You can't just have a bunch of fat, gun-wielding actually just a bunch of fat-wielding gun-toters roaming the streets of America, putting people in headlocks, kneeling on their faces, pepper spraying them, ultimately shooting them dead because you videoed them? Like, you can't do that, actually. It turns out, well, that's one thing. You can't do that. So don't. Holy shit. But anyway, for the first time ever, I actually agree with the hijacking of government and basically creating a shutdown effect so that you don't fund these people. Now, if you remember the last time there was a shutdown in effect, Trump got one of his billionaire buddies to give $400 million, I think, to pay the salaries of ICE. But I don't know how many times you get to pull that rabbit out of that hat, unless the Epstein files have your name in it. More on this. Border czar warned immigration operations should be targeted to, quote, keep the faith of the American people. Now, first thing, the faith of the American people is gone. I'm pretty sure most of America agrees with me. We don't have faith in any of these fat-toting gun wielders that have zero training, but they've got a gun. The picture in the video, if you go back and watch, I need somebody to pull this stuff up for me as we go. If you go back and watch the video of the guy that got killed recently, not Renee Good, but the other dude, I can't remember his name even now. But in one of the videos, there's a pan where they pan over to him, and this dumpy, I mean, he looks like a character from a video game. Fat, camo, mask, but fat as fuck, just a big old fat fucking belly hanging off of this guy, and that's who ICE is. That's who's ICE. So yeah, we don't have any faith in them, but you definitely need to rein them in. Okay, next up in politics, Trump says Gordie Howe Bridge won't open without Canadian concessions. Now, the Gordie Howe Bridge is was supposed to connect Canada with, it says, let's see, bridge between Detroit and Windsor, which is supposed to bring, business and it's supposed, when you open up bridges between nations, commerce flows on the bridge. That's how it works. But President Donald Trump says he will not allow it to open unless Canada makes significant concessions to the United States. Now, he noted the liquor, the American liquor that's not on the shelves in Canada, but that's because of his own tariffs. So this is gaslighting in a political realm. This is political gaslighting. Trump creates a situation. Canada responds to the situation, and they should. If you start fucking with me, I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm not going to do business with you. That's how this game works. If you show up on my job site and you fuck some shit up and it costs me money, you're not coming back to the job site. You get kicked off the job site. So, I mean, I guess that's not quite the same thing, but you get the point. The bridge was set to open. Now Canada paid for the bridge under the auspice of an agreement that the United States was going to pay for half of them. They were going to remunerate them for half of the cost to build the bridge, which is the bridge was $5.7 billion to build. Trump wants Canada to give us half of it, meaning he wants to back out of the $2.75 billion that we promised to pay. And this is what Trump does. He renegotiates. He reneges on everything. I remember these were the reports that for the people that, like, if you were a contractor that worked for him, he wouldn't pay you And then you can't do anything about it because he has more money than you. So he screws you over in court, holds you up, and doesn't pay his bills. This piece of shit, dirty pool playing fucking piggy needs to get the fuck out of the office of president. This is crazy that we have just a child tyrant rich boy who's fat and eats McDonald's and doesn't pay his bills. Like, if you're the president, you have to pay your bills. God damn it. Go fuck yourself, Trump. Haven't handed out one of those in a while. Okay, Jeffrey Epstein, here we go. Jamie Raskin accuses DOJ of cover-up after viewing unredacted Epstein files. Now, apparently, this is the ranking member of the House Judiciary Panel, says mysterious redactions in files obscured names of abusers. The rest of the article goes on to say he was first in line because the members of Congress, that's the Senate and the House of Representatives, are allowed to view the files unredacted. So, but you're not allowed to go in with your cell phone, camera, assistant. Only you can view them. Now, here's the play. There's 3.5 million pages of these files, and you're only allowed to look at them with your eyes only, and nobody else is allowed to be in there with you. What does that say? That says, yeah, we're going to rely on your memory. I mean, are you allowed to take notes? I think you're not allowed to take notes either. No notepad, no nothing. So you're allowed to only look at it and then remember it and then come back out, and then you can write it all down. And what you should do is bug yourself and read aloud. That's what you should do. But they scan you for electronic devices on your way in. Well, what he's saying is names like Les Wexner, who we remember who he is. He was the basically he handed his financials over to Epstein. He was the founder of Victoria's Secret and a bunch of clothing companies, and he handed his power of attorney, financial power of attorney, over to Epstein. Nobody knows why. Probably has something to do with, oops, I took that one a little too far. And his email probably didn't say, I'm glad no one got killed, because that was in one of the Epstein files, was somebody saying, I'm just glad nobody got killed. But Epstein says, I loved the torture video that you sent. You sent? Or is this just the video cameras are running, and if you tortured a chick because you're into BDSM, that now becomes a torture video? And now we got you by the balls. Basically he said he's going to interview Pam Bondi or cross-examine her or whatever you do. And she's not going to answer I am not going to answer any of your questions. That's her response, which is an insane response for a public official. But the question at hand is, why were victims' names? Because Trump has been saying we're going to try to protect the victims. That's the hard part. Well, we're redacting names that are the offenders, and we are revealing the names that are the victims. So here's another blunder, right? So we intentionally blunder these things so that we can then take them back down, is my guess. Well, we got to take them back down because they're not right now. Even though all of the courts have said release all of the files. And they're like, well, we have to redact a bunch of names from it first, though. But we can't, because we have to hide the victims. But they spell victims abusers. They're just not very good at spelling. That's actually probably it. They're just not very good at spelling. They just don't understand how spelling. Victim doesn't get spelled A-B-U-S-E-R. That's not how you spell victim, but that's what the third grade IQ of someone like a Pam Bondi, Donald Trump type of person probably thinks. All right, moving on. NPR. Ghislaine Maxwell appeals for clemency from Trump as she declines to answer questions. She has pled the fifth. uh, in a grand trial or whatever the hell this one is. We can read a little bit more on this. Washington. Ghislaine Maxwell, the former girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein, declined to answer questions from House lawmakers in a deposition on Monday, but indicated that if President Trump would ended her prison sentence and granted her clemency, she was willing to testify that neither he nor former President Bill Clinton had done anything wrong in their connections with Epstein. So, to be clear, Ghislaine Maxwell is in a deposition about a sex trafficking ring that she was number 2 in command of. President Bill Clinton and President Donald Trump both appear multiple times in the files, and we remember that Clinton had a sex scandal when he was in office, so we know these guys are scandalous. And you can see, again, from that video of Trump being like, yeah, and pointing and kissing and hugging and fucking being weird and gloomy, and then pretending like he didn't do anything wrong, but she's willing to testify that they didn't do anything wrong in exchange for clemency. I wonder if she'll get it. If she does, what can you do about that? All right, Associated Press. Oh, Russia. Russia can't attack NATO this year, but plans to boost its own forces, an intelligence chief says. He also said that what Putin is doing, he thinks, is outsmarting the United States in these negotiations, where the lines end up, so that he can then put his military encampments closer and closer to NATO countries. Because right now you've got Ukraine in between Russia and other NATO countries. So maybe that's the whole push, is take over Ukraine so that you can put your own war installations there. We've stretched the START agreement, which is the no more nuclear stuff. But then Trump said that he's going to start exploring testing his nuclear weapons again and revamping our nuclear programs. So, you know, this is such a cup under the ball game. It's like, you know, those guys that are really good at shuffling the cup around, and what you don't see is that they pass the ball over the edge of the table. They pass the cup over the edge of the table, and then the ball falls, and then there's no ball under any cup. That's the game they're playing. They're playing ball in a cup, and there's no ball. But Trump does need a mega ballroom. Okay, Trump to exclude Democratic governors from a usually bipartisan meeting at the White House. Now, this is insanity. Later this month, President Trump is hosting an annual meeting with governors at the White House, but he will not be inviting any Democrats, only Republicans, breaking a long-standing tradition. Fuck me. You are just not going to get a fair shake with this guy. That's the bottom line. You're not getting a fair shake. He knows how the system is rigged, and go fuck yourself is what he says to everybody who disagrees with whatever the fuck he's doing. God, I've got a buddy who's just like this guy. Forgiveness. Spend the money. Pretend like it doesn't matter. Tell everyone you did a good job, even though the fucking company's going under. You dumb cunt. Oh, yeah, I'm getting excited. Axios. Here we go. DOJ seeks to dismiss Bannon conviction. So now this is kind of interesting, because Steve Bannon was convicted for refusing to testify about the January 6th Capitol riot. Legal findings submitted Monday's show. The big picture. The submissions mark the Trump administration's latest effort to unwind prosecutions of the president's allies. That's the bottom line. The thing is, Bannon already served his time in 2024. He served 4 months in a federal prison. He was convicted in 2022. Sentenced and convicted and sentenced in 2022. Okay, so you served your 4 months, but now they're just trying to get it off his record. It's like, go fuck yourself, man. You were involved. Stand up for yourself. Quit being little bitches. Oh my God, it's insane. Here we got shutting down the Kennedy Center is even more serious than it looks. If you were following along, Trump recently changed the name of the Kennedy Center to the Trump Kennedy Center, which is a wild boy thing to do. You're just a wild, wild boy. You're just a little piggy putting your name on everything. It's like you don't get to put your name on everything, and then that's what exists now. Well, in the future, we're going to know that it was actually Trump who did all this cool stuff. It wasn't Kennedy. Kennedy wasn't the good guy. It was Trump that was the good guy. It's like, no. So since then, performers are refusing to perform at the now falsely named Kennedy Center. And so all of a sudden the business is going under, right? The Kennedy Center is not making any money. So then now a year later, a year after he put his name on it, he now has determined that the Trump Kennedy Center, if temporarily closed for construction, revitalization, and complete rebuilding, can be without question the finest performing arts facility of its kind anywhere in the world. So he went through and tried to say that Jerome Powell, the former Fed chair, spent too much money on fixing up these dilapidated old buildings, which they were. But he falsely included a different building whose construction project was approved and completed, but he just included those numbers into the full bill. And Jerome's like, oh, you fucking stupid idiot. No, this is a totally different thing. But now he's saying, well, the Kennedy Center needs to be revamped. Well, if it's got my name on it, there's got to be gold everywhere. And guess what? Nobody's going to perform at the Trump Kennedy Center. Artists don't like you. It's simple. People with money that make money because of you might like you, actually put up with you, deal with your insolence. Is that the word? Because he's an insolent douche. Is that the right word? Is douche the right word? They might put up with you, but they don't like you. That's the whole deal. So nobody's going to perform at a center that has your fucking name on it, except for maybe Russians. Maybe all the Russians that bought the penthouses in the Trump Tower that kept you afloat. Maybe those guys that you don't have to put somehow they don't have to have their name on it or something like that. I can't remember the rules on that. Okay, finally, last up, here we go. Trump administration proposes repeal to the 2009 endangerment findings. The 2009 endangerment finding that GHG emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, contribute to air pollution, endangering public health or welfare. In doing so, the EPA is proposing to repeal all GHG standards for passenger vehicles and trucks in the United States. Meaning, you take off your catalytic converters, I guess. If you've ever followed a vehicle, a historic vehicle, a 1965 Corvette. Everyone loves these 1965 Corvettes. If you follow one around, you can smell the unburned gasoline. That's how the way that catalytic converters work. If you don't know, it's a honeycomb of like platinum, palladium, super rare metals that can get extremely hot. And when they're extremely, extremely hot and the unburned hydrocarbons pass through the honeycomb, which is like this thick of hot or thicker special metals, it burns those hydrocarbons, and that's why you don't smell it, because it got burned off. Never mind that it's only 30% efficient. Your gasoline engine, it has to burn off 70% of its own emissions because 70% of the gasoline goes unused, unexploded. That stuff that's coming out of the tailpipe, you could just circulate it right back through and burn it again, but we don't do that. We ain't playing that. I mean, we do a little bit in your EGR valve, but barely, and it just goes right back into the case. So it's like, what is that for? That's to break down your oil, probably make you need oil faster. But anyway, who cares about the emissions, right? I mean, who cares if they're, what? Fuck it, they're spraying the skies anyway. So you know what? I'm putting my tinfoil hat on, but I'm pulling my shorts back down to their normal levels. Consider yourselves kicked in the dick by the news. My name once again is Ray Stone, and as always, we will see you on Thursday. Bye.